بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Sharh al-Manzumah by Ayatummah Mutahhari based on Manzumah of Hakim Sabzewari rahmatullah alayhima. We said there are 17 issues about existence or wujud that we are going to discuss. The first one was about bidahatul wujud, the fact that existence or concept of existence is self-evident. Alhamdulillah, we discussed this. The second was ishtirakul wujud or al-ishtirakul ma'nawi, the fact that the concept of existence is equivocal. The third issue was about ziyadatul wujud ala al-mahiyya. Wujud and mahiyya are different concepts. So these three are, alhamdulillah, studied. The fourth issue is asalatul wujud. This is very important topic. It is part of the foundations of al-Hikam al-Muta'aliya, transcendent philosophy. According to Ayatummah Mutahhari in some of his books, this issue was not independently raised and discussed before Mulla Sadra. So if you go to books by Ibn Sina, for example, you don't find this as a topic. Is wujud asil or mahiyya is asil? It was not raised as a question at that time. Therefore, it's possible that sometimes they may have discussed as if they believe in asalatul wujud, and sometimes maybe as if they believe in asalatul mahiyya. But in general, Masha'un believe in asalatul wujud. So their entire philosophical framework is mostly geared towards asalatul wujud, and most of their statements can be taken as support for asalatul wujud, but not 100%. So let us see what is this question, and then what are the arguments in favor of asalatul wujud or asalatul mahiyya. Khaja rahmatullah alayh says, Inna al-wujuda عندنا أصيل دليل من خالفنا عليل. Asilun becomes asilu. Truly, existence in our opinion is asil. So for us, in our opinion, wujud is asil, is primordial. The argument of those who disagree with us has problem. Alil from illa. Illa means illness. Alil is someone who has some illness, some problem. So, إن الوجود عندنا أصيل دليل من خالفنا عليل. So Khaja wants to say that we believe that wujud is asil, not mahiyya. And whatever argument those who believe in asalatul mahiyya bring is not acceptable. In order to explain this, we need to familiarize ourselves with the concept of wujud, mahiyya, and asala. Some of them are very well known, some of them may be in need of explanation. Wujud, you know. We said in the last session that actually mafhumul wujud مفهومه من أعرف الأشياء وكنهه في غاية الخفاء. We said it's badihi, and one of the most well-known things is the concept of wujud. So it's easy. You all know what is wujud. What about mahiyya? What is mahiyya? Mahiyya is a concept that is said in response to the question of ma huwa. When someone refers to something and says, what is this in its essence? Ayyu shay'in huwa fi dhatih. What is this in its essence? I'm not talking about a'raz, about accidents, about its place, its time. No, about its essence. Whatever is answered, it's mahiyya. So they call whatness, quiddity. This is mahiyya. Ma yuqalu fi jawab ma hu means ma bihi shay huwa huwa. For example, when we say al-insanu mawjudun or al-farasu mawjudun or ash-shajaratu mawjudatun, human being exists, a horse exists, etc. You can see that there is something here which is wujud or mawjud, exists or existent, and there is something which is different, horse, shajar, hajar, etc. This part which is common, mawjud, this is related to wujud, mafhum al-wujud. But that part which is a specific, like faras, baqar, shajar, hajar, etc., it's mahiyya. In Farsi, Ayatummah Mutahhari says, we can say chisti in contrast to hasti. Hasti means being. Chisti means whatness. What is it? So, mahiyya of everything is it's a specific essence. It's a specific substance. So, a kind of concept that explains what it is in contrast to other things that we have. Maybe you think that because we say al-insanu mawjudun or al-farasu mawjudun, maybe you think that mahiyya is the main thing and then wujud belongs to it. But the reality is that without wujud, mahiyya is nothing. This is just in our mind. In our mind, we are more used to and more familiar with mahiyat. Therefore, we say al-insan, then we say mawjudun. But in reality, what we have is that we have different types of beings. From them, we can abstract different concepts like their mahiyya. There can be also other concepts, but their mahiyya is one of the concepts. It's an essential concept that we can abstract from them. Now, after knowing wujud and mahiyya, now let's explain the concept of asala, because the question is wujud asil or is mahiyya asil? Does wujud have asala or mahiyya has asala? Asala comes from asl. Asl means root. Asala means which one is more fundamental, which one is primordial. Opposite to i'tibari. I'tibari here means secondary. Hakim Sabzewari rahmatullah alayhi says, the reason that we say inna al-Wujuda عندنا أصيل دليل من خالفنا عليل, the reason is this: لأنه منبع كل الشرف والفرق بين نحوي الكوني فيه. The reason we say wujud is asil because existence is the source, is the root, is the origin for every honor. Everything good goes back to existence. Sharh is adami, khair is wujudi. You know, in the discussion about divine justice and some other places, philosophers have this discussion that badness in the end of the day is adami, is negational. Whatever is existing is good, and if it was not good, was not created, was not given existence. So wujud is the source of all the khairat, all the good things. If you want to be saved from hunger, you have to eat food. It's a wujud of food, food which exists. If you are thirsty, to quench your thirst, you need water, wujud of water, water which is mawjud in kharaj, water which is externally, objectively existent. So wujud is the source of every honor. Otherwise there can be mahiyya without any effect, without any consequences. If mahiyya is separated from wujud, what can it do? Suppose you have mahiyya of fire without wujud, what can it do? The example that he mentions, and you have it in some other books, is based on distinction between al-wujud al-kharaji and al-wujud al-dhihni. Mental existence in contrast to external existence. Fire can be outside and it has heat, it has light. Fire can be in my mind. This is the image of fire. It doesn't burn, doesn't have any light, heat, etc. Question: is fire in my mind really fire? It has the same mahiyya or not? Say yes. If it was not fire, then I couldn't have any knowledge about fire, because my knowledge about fire is through this image. If it was not image of fire, then I couldn't have knowledge about fire. And since we have all different types of knowledge and we are not Sufist, we say yes, we can have image of fire. Or if there is a human being, there is Zayd I am watching, so mahiyya of Zayd comes to my mind. Flower, mahiyya of flower comes to my mind. So it's the same mahiyya. Although inshallah when we study wujud al-zihni and wujud al-khariji, we will explain that there's a difference between hamla awwali and hamla shay'i, but we leave it for the future. It's the same mahiyya. If it was not the same mahiyya, means I cannot know this mahiyya, means then the gate of knowledge is masdud, is blocked. Babul ilm masdud, means we become Sufist. So we can know external fire through this image because there is correspondence, there's a tahad. It's fire but bil wujud al-zihni. Fire outside is fire bil wujud al-khariji, bil wujud al-ayni. Okay, now that I can have mahiyya of fire with external existence and it has effect, I can have mahiyya of fire without external existence and it has no effect. So from this you realize that Mahiyya is not the one that brings effects. It's wujud. If Mahiyya has wujud, it's effective. If Mahiyya doesn't have wujud, it's just a notion, a concept. So this is why Khaja says, Hakim Sabzewari says, لأنه means لأن الوجود منبع كل شرفي, is the source of every honor. Everything good comes from wujud. والفرق بين نحوي الكون يفيه. The second argument is that distinction, this difference between two types of wujud is enough as an argument, is adequate. What does he mean by two types of wujud? Wujud al-dhihni and wujud al-khariji. After this, can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know why I was disconnected.
Yeah, we just had a, I don't know, a noisy
Yeah,
sound.
yeah. Okay, so these are two arguments that Hakim Sabzewari mentions and Ayatummah Mutahhari explains. Maybe someone says that this problem can be also said about wujud, that, for example, wujud can also come to my mind and it has no impact, for example. But the answer is that wujud is mainly in kharij. Wujud is in haqiqatul wujud, is outside mind. You can make a form, a concept of anything. Even you can make a concept which has no example, no instance. For example, unicorn. Maybe there is no unicorn in the world. Or dinosaurs. Right now there are no dinosaurs in the world. Mahiyya doesn't say anything about it must exist. Wujud means it must exist, but you can make a concept of it, an image of it in mind. Then mafhum al-wujud is different. We are talking about haqiqatul wujud. Haqiqatul wujud has effects. Then Hakim Sabzewari continues, كيف وبالكون عن استواء قد خرجت قاطبة الأشياء. He brings another argument for اصالت الوجود. The third argument is this: ما هي متساوية النسبة إلى الوجود والعدم. ماهية has equal relation with respect to existence and non-existence. الماهية ليست إلا هي لا موجودة ولا معدومة. When you say ماهية الإنسان, ماهية الفرس, to exist or not to exist is not part of ماهية. If it was part of ماهية, then it could not be anything else. If wujud was part of ماهية, it had to exist always. If Adam was part of ماهية, it had to be معدوم all the way. But wujud and Adam are additional. Mahiyya is silent about existence and non-existence. What can bring Mahiyya out of this equal relation with wujud and Adam is wujud. If Mahiyya is mawjudah with this additional thing which is wujud, then it has a reality, it has effects, etc. So Hakim Sabzewari says, كيف, how can Mahiyya be Asil? How can Wujud be not Asil? While وبالكون عن استواء قد خرجت قاطبة الأشياء, means everything because of existence goes out of istiwa, being equal. With respect to Wujud and Adam. Ayatummah Mutahhari says this argument needs some clarification. You have to be able to understand all these terms properly, these concepts properly, to appreciate this argument. One of the issues that we study in philosophy is about whether the predicate is applied to the subject or is predicated of the subject by subject itself or because of the subject itself, or there is something else which is to be in between, and without that it cannot be. For example, if we say something is white, for example, if we say this object is white, to be white for this jism can be because of something else. For example, they have put a white paint on it, it has become white. But if you say al-bayadu abiyad, whiteness is white, then it's not because of anything else. Just as an example, if we say, for example, al-insan haywanun, is part of the reality of insan because insan is haywan and atiq. But if we say al-insanu sha'irun or alimun, needs something, because every insan is not alim or sha'ir, is not a scholar or a poet, etc. So now the question is, with respect to asalatul wujud or asalatul mahiyya, is that when we say al-insanu mawjudun, is this mawjud used as a predicate for insan because of insan itself or because of something else? The answer is that it cannot be because of insan itself, because insan in itself can be ma'dum, is mutansawiyatun nisba ila al-wujud wal adam. But when we talk about the wujud, wujud has to be mawjud, because to exist is essential for existence, like bayad and abiyad. You say whiteness is white, of course. The same way being is existent or exists. So كيف وبالكون عن استواء قد خرجت قاطبة الأشياء. How can wujud be not asil while it is with wujud that everything can come out of equal relation with wujud and adam? If he wants to exist or wants not to exist, we have to come out of equality. One has to be prioritized. The next argument is this: لو لم يؤصل وحدة ما حصلت إذ غيره مثار كثرة أتت. لو لم يؤصل means لو لم يؤصل الوجود ما حصلت وحدة. لو لم يؤصل وحدة ما حصلت means لو لم يؤصل الوجود ما حصلت وحدة. If wujud was not asil, there could be no unity. You could never make a proposition, a statement. Why? إذ غيره, because غير الوجود, anything other than wujud, here we talk about mahiyya, is مثار كثرة, is subject to multiplicity, is where multiplicity has place. Mahiyya can never help us to make certain propositions. For example, you say al-insanu katibun, al-insanu alimun, al-insanu sha'irun, or hadha al-insan katibun sha'ir. What is inside the mahiyya of insan is haywan natiq. Kitaba is separate, there's kathra. Insan is one mahiyya, kitaba is another, or sha'ir means to make poem is another. These mahiyat are separate from each other. It is existence of Zayd that brings these two together. Zayd is an insan who is also sha'ir or alim. So wujud brings these mahiyat to each other and unites them. If wujud was not asil, means it's just following mahiyya, mahiyya was not able to bring unity, therefore these things could not be united. So we could never say hadha al-insanu alimun. So alhamdulillah, this discussion about asalat al-wujud finished. Mulla Sadra in some places, believes that if we can properly conceive what is the meaning of, or what is the concept and meaning of asalat al-wujud and asalat al-mahiyya, we would have no doubt, it doesn't need any proof, just to understand properly that when we refer to something and we say this flower, for example, exists. To be a flower is mahiyya, which by itself doesn't indicate existence or non-existence. When we say mawjud means exists. The question is, this exists is the main one or mahiyya? We say mahiyya doesn't show that it must have reality, but existence shows that it has reality. So the main thing is wujud, asalatul wujud. If you have any questions so far, please put forward. Otherwise, we go to the next issue, which is not very long. Is there any questions so far about asalatul wujud or mahiyya? I assume all of you, because those who are in this class, they have studied Bidayatul Hikmah at least. Some of you have studied more. So you know this discussion, but it's a kind of review, plus benefiting from the description by Ayatummah Mutahhari. But so far I don't think there is something new for you. Okay, is there any question? Okay, no question.